Hello and welcome to the 13th Java video. In this video we are going to continue working with arrays, and this video is going to be about 2D arrays. In the last video I explained to you how an array works, and that was all about one-dimensional arrays. Basically an array could store multiple values or variables, and you could think of it like it stores them in rows, so something like this. We have an int with the size 3, which means it can contain 3 values, and since it is an int, it can contain numbers in each of these elements, so 1, 2, 3. And that is the basics of a one-dimensional array. Basically it goes on the row like this. Now a 2D array is a bit different. Basically each of these positions in the row is an array itself. So basically what I mean by that is that if you have one position here, that means that the array of that position will be, for example, 3, like we state over here. So each of the beginning in the rows are going to contain 3 different elements. So basically it is an array inside of an array. So I'm going to show you how to create one and how to loop through all of the elements, because it doesn't work the same way as a one-dimensional array. So anyways, let's get started. It is first of all, we're going to create a two-dimensional array. It is very similar to a one-dimensional array, except that you add another pair of brackets like this, and that will give it 2 dimensions, a row and a column. So anyways, let's call this int array, and you could initialize it in a way that's something like this: int 4 and 3, like I'm showing you over there. Oh, sorry, new int. So basically that would give it a row of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and each row would contain 3 elements, 1, 2, 3, and that would give it a total element of 4 times 3, 12. That is one way on how you can initialize them, and all of them will contain the value 0, because an integer that hasn't been initialized or given another value will always be 0. So let's just set okay. In order to refer to an element inside of a two-dimensional array, you need 2 brackets, like these. For example, in a one-dimensional array you would do something like this: int array 1, and that would give you the value of the element in the position 1. A two-dimensional array is a bit different. You need to specify 2 places, so something like this. And first part tells you in which row you will find the element. So for example 1 would be 0 and 1 over here, and then the next part tells you on which column. So we would do, after we have reached the first position, we go 0, 1, 2, and that would give us the value 6. So we're just going to set that value to 6, and then we're just going to print it out to see if it works. 1, 2. There we go. Just going to let it load, and there you go, it prints out 6. We're going to create a new method that is going to type out the information of our array. So let's call our new method something like print array, and it is going to take a parameter which is a two-dimensional array. We have done something like this before in the method part of the videos. Basically inside the parameters, instead of taking a string or an int, we take an two-dimensional array and call it int array. It's alright. Now we have a reference to our int, so we can do something like this. What we're going to do now is that we're going to loop through each of the elements in the positions, something like this. And in order to do that in a two-dimensional array, we actually need 2 for loops. So in order to loop through the rows, we're going to create a loop that we do for one-dimensional array. Basically int I equals to 0, I less than int array dot length and I++. And that will loop through each of these positions. 0, 1, 2, 3. Now we also want to reach each of the columns. And in order to do that, we need to create another for loop inside of our current for loop. Let's do it like this. For int j equals to 0, j less than int array I dot length. I'm going to explain to you why I typed that out in just a moment. So right, basically we need this part in order to retrieve the size of the current array in the row. So for example, if we were at int I 0, we would be over here, and then we would check the size on the width, or each column, so that would give us length of 1, 2, 3. So how this works is that first of all we set I to 0, and that means we are over here, and then we set j to 0, and that will give us the value 1. Then we increase j by 1, and it will be the value 2. Increase it by once again, and it will be 3. And then we have actually reached our length of our array, so we're going to exit the for loop and go all the way back over here, and that will increase I by 1. So we're going to land on number 4. And then we're going to do the loop on the width once again, so 4, 5, 6, set increase I by 1, and we'll go over here, etc. Hopefully get it anyways. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to print out each of the elements. So something like this, int array I and j. So basically I is the row and j is the column, and together they will give us a value of an element. Basically an element is something that is stored inside of an array. So anyways, and after we have typed out all of the columns, we're going to type out a new row like this. It will give us something like this: 6, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 6. Wait a minute. Alright, never mind. I was just a bit confused since it typed out as 6, but it is because we already have a system out print over here, and we do not want that, of course. So anyways, this is how we can print them out easily. So that is how we go through a for loop, and now I'm just going to show you another way on how to initialize each of the values. Instead of typing new int like this, you could do something like this. If you remember from the last video, I don't know if we have an example of this over here. Yes, you can see we defined them like this, initialized our array like this, with the brackets, and then typed out the numbers basically. And it is very similar in our 2D array, but in this case, once again, we need 2 brackets. So let's just type out 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to switch to the next row. So you know what, let's do this, something like this. There we go, and that is our first row, like you can see over here. And let's create another one. 4, 5, 6. Actually in the comma or whatever it's called in English after the brackets. And then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's do the size 4 in that part. So I'm going to show you something. Alright, another bracket. There we go. And now we're going to print it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 1, 2, yeah. So we can just remove this now. Whoops. So alright, that's a way that you can initialize each of the values. Now we could create a for loop and put in the values like something like this. Instead of reading them, you put in a variable, for example 5 or yeah, whatever. Okay, so we got that part, and I'm going to show you something that I'm going to show you the reason to why we can't do something like this. Because actually I'm going to show you why we can't use this, in case you didn't get it before. Basically this will return 4, since the amount of rows are 1, 2, 3, 4 in our array. and we do not have 4 columns in each of the rows. So this will give us an array index out of bounds exception because that position doesn't exist in our array. And we can't do something like this either. Well, in some cases you can if you have, for example, 3 columns in each of the rows. But if you have something like 3 columns here, 3, 3, and then 4 over here, that will give you an array index out of bound except. Oh no, it won't. It will actually not count the last part because it only checks for 3 variables in each column, in each row, and we have 4 in the last one. So always use int array i.length. Unless you have Alright, that was pretty much all for this video. I'm going to start uploading more videos during the summer, because at the moment I don't really have much time over. But I'm going to do my best to keep up. And I'm also going to start uploading Android videos once again, and the gaming videos. So stay tuned for that if you're interested in it, and hopefully I will see you in the next video, which will hopefully be out sometime the next week. So bye bye.